You've actually been part of the panchayat movement. There are those who would have concerns about the quality of women candidates and whether these are genuinely empowered women with agency deciding for themselves, or these are women who've been put up as proxies, as the term used to go, sarpanch patis. The male still has a role in the running of the sarpanch of the panchayat, even if he isn't the sarpanch. To what extent do you think those are issues which are now in the past? To what extent do you think those are issues that will remain at least in the initial years?
Well, culturally, as we know, especially the northern part of India, yes, it is a very patriarchal society where the Purush Pratha is dominant. But if we look at what traditionally things were, what numbers of Purush Pradhan or Purush Pati that we saw, I think that has already reduced considerably. If I were to look at my first term in 2010 to my second term in 2015, things had already started changing, with more educated women coming forth and asking for their rights, demanding that they be the ones sitting in the position of power because they're the ones who were elected. So that is already happening. And I think more so now than ever before, women are more conscious and more aware of what the challenges are, what their rights are, and the fact that there is a platform where they can speak and they will speak. Whether they are educated enough or not, that is immaterial. And that is what the beauty of today is, because everyone is touched by social media, is impacted by it, is impacted by the awareness and knowledge and information that is coming through it. And that also gives them much more confidence, because even if you cannot physically be present in front of someone else, you can use these channels to have a very effective, informed voice. And I think that is what is the tipping point in ensuring that when this does see the light of day, there will be more women who will be able to create an impact. When I became the Sarpanch first time in 2010, I do not have a political background. I had no idea what I was really walking into, but I did enter it, and I think I fared very well. I did not have a team to work with me. I did not have access to internet during my first term, but I very successfully brought about development in a village which needed it, in the hope that I can inspire more people like me across the country to do so. So if I could do it alone, anyone can. That's what I believe. And I'm very, very optimistic, and I'm hoping this comes through. It comes through sooner than what people are claiming it could. The delay, I just hope, does not happen, because the impact can be made and will be made.
Shama Mohammed, questions are being asked to the Congress for demanding caste census, for talking about OBC reservation. Now, Sonia Gandhi gave an interview when she was trying to bring the bill, which spoke about how you didn't need OBC reservation, that if you wanted to reserve a certain number of seats from that reserved quota for OBC candidates, do it. You don't need separate reservation. Now, when she's in opposition, Congress leaders are in opposition, you're asking for the same thing you thought was untenable or unrequired when you were in government.
No, even, let me explain that to you. One, today just now you said that they had the courage. Now, see, we also had the courage, but we did not have the numbers. 2014 manifesto of the BJP and 2019 manifesto of the BJP.
Ma'am, you aren't answering my question. My question is on caste census and my question is on OBC reservation. Yes.
I will answer it, Rahul. Just give me 1 minute and I'm going to answer. Okay. You're sure I'll answer your question. So what I'm saying is that they could have passed it much earlier. Number two, they could have passed in 2015, 16, 17. We wouldn't have these issues of the census, which was in 2021. Now, most important point is the delimitation. What do you mean by delimitation is in the 545 seats, they're not ready to give it to us. What's the point? In that, we need the reservation. After delimitation, the seats are going to be increased. So that's our reservation. They're just giving you some extra seats which are new, which is coming in, and we'll get it. And that too after 2029 or maybe 35, according to Nishikant Dubey, whatever he said. So what I'm trying to say is that I was shocked. I was very happy day before, very excited. And I'm, the Prime Minister, I thought when he says something he could do, like we saw the Article 370 abolished, triple talaq abolished, GST at midnight, this also he would do. But what was the point of the special session? The question you asked about OBC, those, yes, I agree at that time, we said this, and now you have to understand 13 years have passed. Things have changed. You can see what is the difference. I think Rahul Gandhi has said something. He said that, Rahulji said that out of the 90 secretaries, only 3 are OBC. So
ma'am, because they're all from the 1990s batches, and during the 1990s, largely it was your government which was in power. It happens in a hierarchical fashion. You rise to be secretary depending on what the intake was. So that argument really reflects the inadequacies from your time in government.
Yeah, so we voted today. That was a suggestion to include. We also asked them why not do the caste census. But at the end of it, I heard Rahulji saying, please pass the bill for 24. So we had a
let me put that question to Dr. Sandeep Shastri. This idea of linking it with delimitation, I heard the Home Minister say, 29 ke baad aayega. There is a clause in the amendment about delimitation which says that 5 years after delimitation, the delimitation exercise, the first census after delimitation, the delimitation exercise begins in 2026, leading many to wonder, when will this actually get implemented? What's your best sense at this moment from what we know? Sandeep Shastri.
Rajdeep, Rahul, as per the last constitutional amendment, there would be no delimitation till 2026, and that will be based on the census we have in 2021. So as I see it, this is likely to happen at the earliest around the time the next delimitation happens.
No, which is what, 2026?
Which will be post 2026. And once this is passed by the Rajya Sabha, while it will become a legislation,
No, but the delimitation exercise itself takes at least 3 years. In the past, has also taken 5 years.
Now, it again depends on when the government takes a call to create the Delimitation Commission. We need not create the Delimitation Commission after 2026. Post 2026, the exercise of undertaking the delimitation can begin, but then it has to begin on the basis of the 2021 census. So once the data of the 2021
but the 2021 census can only now happen realistically after the Lok Sabha elections next year, which is at least June 2024.
There is no question of this happening before the next year's Lok Sabha election. The only time it can happen, as per the existing constitutional mandate, is in 2026 after the census of 2021.
No, but delimitation takes at least 3 years. Could take 5, but at least 3. Then you're already hitting 2029. So it's touch and go by this very basic calculation, Sanju Verma, already for 2029. You know, everyone who's watching would have wanted for this to be brought with greater speed to be implemented sooner.
Okay, Rahul, I just want to make a couple of things very clear. You know, nobody seems to have spoken about this, but one very important thing which needs to be mentioned here is that way back in 2001, there was the 91st Amendment to the Constitution which was passed, and the 91st Amendment clearly stated that there is a freeze on increasing the number of seats in the Lok Sabha and their distribution thereof across states and union territories. I'm sure Mr. Shastri would be able to corroborate on this, but the 91st Amendment clearly says that there cannot be any increase in Lok Sabha seats prior to 2026 because of the freeze, which basically means that once the delimitation exercise is conducted post 2026 and there is a rise in the number of seats, in all probability from 545 odd to 888, which is what is being bandied about as far as the Lok Sabha goes. And for the Rajya Sabha, from 245 to 384 is the number that is being spoken of. Then we will have clarity as to how to go about then distributing seats in terms of how many to reserve for the scheduled castes, how many seats to be reserved for the scheduled tribes, and how many to be included in the general category, which would also include OBCs. Please note, which nobody seems to be discussing, even the current strength of the Lok Sabha, barring the 2 nominated seats, 543 is based on the Delimitation Commission of 2008's recommendations, wherein 412 seats of the Lok Sabha fall in the general category, 84 seats fall in the scheduled caste category, and 47 fall in the scheduled tribe category, thereby totaling up to a grand total of 543. So my limited point is, without getting into the nuances of, delimitation act kab hoga, delimitation commission, when will it be set up, when will the census happen, let us not miss the woods for the trees. I just have this to say. For the Congress to wax eloquent about the rights of OBCs is a bit too rich, because don't forget that the first ever commission to give rights to OBCs was set up under the aegis of Pandit Nehru in 1953. It was famously called the Kaka Kalelkar Committee.
Look,